the last 36 years, I have worked as a professional and private investigator. Since that time, I have been studying unsolved crimes, waiting for the technology to come about to give us answers. In October of 2024, we had a breakthrough giving us an answer in one of the most prolific series of unsolved murders, the Zodiac killings. Join us as we walk you through our answer to solve Cipher 13 and give us the name of the Zodiac Killer. Here we go. Good evening, cyberspace, for a special edition of Squatch-D tonight. Tonight, we're going to be covering a very serious topic. Usually, we talk about other topics. We're very lighthearted. Tonight is a serious topic because there are victims involved. We want to respect that. That this is a case that spans over 50 years. And hopefully, we may have just actually gotten a big answer in exactly who is the Zodiac Killer. Many of you know I've been alluding to solving a couple of things over the past several months of different particular cold cases. And let me predicate this by I don't speculate during active cases. I think that's counterproductive. I think, that the last big case that there was a lot of different theories coming out there that were just completely off the wall was the Delphi killings, or the Snapchat murders, if you will. And a lot of the stuff that was being put out there was incorrect, with the exception of, a couple of really good YouTubers, Gray Hughes being one of them. So the whole idea is to, combine what you can from different sources, because this is a, 50-plus-year-old cold case. How we go about solving it? Well, with the Zodiac case, it was kind of a unique situation. So tonight we're going to forego our usual reading of the chat room and saying hi to everybody, but hello to everybody. We are thankful you guys are here tonight. Sit back, relax, and be prepared to go down the rabbit hole with hopefully a really good answer at the end of it. So, and like I said, this is the first time I believe this has been done anywhere. Cipher 13 is an unsolved Zodiac cipher, but thanks to technology improvement, we, for the first time, have used something, and we'll get into that has never been used. I don't think, at least nobody's ever published anything on using a particular tool. So here we are. So let's talk about the Zodiac Killer. And Chris, anything you want to add in there?
Well, this is going to be a refresher course for me, Steve. We spoke earlier. I did watch several of the documentaries in 2020, but I haven't watched anything here recently. So I'm going to get some refresher course as you go through this stuff.
Yep. And like I said, what we're going to do is we're going to go down the brief synopsis of the Zodiac Killer case. And from there, we're going to use a forensic profile that was made up by the FBI of who they believe the Zodiac Killer is. Then we're going to go over a couple of the deciphered ciphers, and then we're going to look at the last cipher, that really important one, which is Cipher 13. So let's proceed here a little bit. The Zodiac Killer is an unidentified serial killer who operated in Northern California in the late 1960s and early 1970s. He is confirmed to have killed at least 5 people, though he claimed responsibility for 37 murders. The Zodiac is infamous for his cryptic letters taunting law enforcement and media with ciphers and riddles. So now let's look at the timeline of key events. So on December 20th, 1968, high school students Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday were shot and killed near Vallejo, California. This is the first confirmed Zodiac attack. On July 4th, 1969, about 6-7 months later, Zodiac attacked Darlene Ferrin and Mike McGow in Vallejo as well. Ferrin died, but McGow survived and provided a description. On August 1st, 1969, the Zodiac sent his first 3 letters to the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald. These letters included parts of his first cipher, the Z408 cipher. On August 8th, 1969, just a week later, Donald and Betty Hardin solved the 408-character cipher known as the 408 cipher, revealing a message about the killer's joy in murdering, but offering no identity clues. On September 27th, 1969, the Zodiac attacked Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard at Lake Berryessa. Cecilia Shepard died, but Hartnell survived. On October 11th, 1969, Paul Stein, a cab driver, was shot in San Francisco. Zodiac later claimed this murder in a letter to the San Francisco Chronicle. And let me also make a point, too, that when he sent the letter to the Chronicle, he did include a swath of Paul Stein's shirt, which the police had noted was missing from him. Right. So there are no doubts that these ciphers that were sent by the Zodiac.
Right.
November of 1969. Now, this is a little bit after a month. Zodiac mailed a cryptogram known as the Z340 cipher to the San Francisco Chronicle. This 340-character cipher battled cryptologists, not cryptozoologists, for over 50 years. April 20th, 1970, the Zodiac sent a letter claiming "My name is," followed by the Z13 cipher, which remains unsolved. Well, we have that solved. June 26, 1970, Zodiac mailed another letter containing a 32-character cipher, Z32, and a map allegedly leading to a bomb he planted. We did not take a look at that one. Of course, the one we wanted to look at was the cipher Z13. And on December 20th, a team of cryptologists attacked the Z340 cipher, revealing a mocking message. So, and on December of 2020, that cipher was finally solved. So that's how long this mystery has been going on. So we look at cipher 408. I don't know, I have July 1st. It says August 1st here, so it could be either or. I mean, it was written on July, but they received it on August 1st.
Right.
It said, "I like killing people because it's so much fun. It's more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all to kill." This is a reference to a book and a movie called The Most Dangerous Game, by the way. This millionaire would bring people onto his island, and he would hunt them because man is the most dangerous animal of all to kill. Something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than, blah, blah, blah. The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn in paradise, and all I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down, or stop my collecting of slaves for my afterlife. Pretty twisted message.
Right. Disturbing mind there.
Right. So we take a look at the next cipher 340, which took how many years to, 50 years, 2019. So it took 51 years for them to decipher this one.
Right. And
basically it says, "I hope you're having lots of fun in trying to catch me." That wasn't me on the TV show, there was a TV show at some point where somebody had called in claiming to be the Zodiac. They later had tracked the phone number, tracked the guy down responsible for it, and basically he was a mental patient.
Yeah.
So it wasn't. So he makes mention of this. That wasn't me on the TV, which brings up a point about me. I'm not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner, because I now have enough slaves to work for me where everyone else has nothing when they reach paradise. So they are not afraid of death. I am not afraid because I know that my new life is an easy one in paradise death. Pretty twisted stuff. So, and finally, we have cipher 13. And we're going to get into all these ciphers very much in depth. In fact, cipher 13 was received on April 20th, 1970. This is the Zodiac speaking. By the way, have you cracked my last cipher I sent you? My name is, and then he writes another cipher. That is the cipher Z13 as we speak. So let's go back to cipher 408. This cipher was solved in 1969 by high school teacher Donald Hardin and his wife Betty. It consists of 408 characters and was sent in 3 parts to different newspapers. So, and the solution, again, we've read the solution.
Yes.
So, note, and it said, notably, it ended with no clues to the killer's identity, just a string of characters that could not be decoded. So, again, cipher 340, this cipher was mailed to San Francisco Chronicle in November 1969, was famously unsolved for over 50 years. In December 2020, a team of cryptologists, David Oranjak, Sam Blake, and Jarl Van Eyck, cracked it using computer algorithms and perseverance. Both ciphers remain chilling reminders of the Zodiac's cryptic and manipulative nature. However, other ciphers, like the 13 character Z13 and 32 character Z32 ciphers remain unsolved. Oh no. Z13 has now been solved. And Z13, of course, this is the Zodiac speaking. By the way, have you cracked the last cipher I sent you? My name is...
So this cipher 13 contains his name.
Right. So the Z13 cipher is one of the killer's most infamous cryptograms, primarily because it is purported to contain his name. It was sent as part of a letter dated April 20th, 1970 to the San Francisco Chronicle. So the significance of this cipher is that the Zodiac explicitly implied that the Z13 contained his name. However, given his history of misleading communications, many believe this was another taunt rather than a genuine confession. Oh, boy, we solved this one, and boy, was it a twist, wasn't it, Chris?
Yeah.
Right? Because, now, mind you, the stuff I'm reading has no acknowledgement of what we've done. So it doesn't understand that we've broken this code. And it's very true. The Zodiac explicitly implied that Z13 contained his name. However, given his history of misleading communications, many believe this was another way to taunt rather than a genuine confession. Well, that's about half true. It was definitely a way to taunt.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Timing. The Z13 cipher was sent after the Zodiac's earlier ciphers and gained public attention, suggesting it may have been designed by him as another publicity stunt. Well, it wasn't. So,
well, I think this guy's mind.
Despite its simplicity, the Z13 cipher remains unsolved. Several theories and proposed solutions have been put forward. Many solutions assume the cipher directly encodes a name such as Arthur Lee Allen, who was the prime suspect in the Zodiac killing, or Lawrence Kane, another Zodiac suspect. However, these solutions are often based on confirmation bias. Code structure. The cipher contains unusual characters, including a plus sign and numbers, which could suggest a substitution cipher. I want you to think about that for a minute. Substitution cipher.
Right.
It may include a substitution cipher. Boy, that's another twist, right? Right. So I want you to think about that. Transposition cipher, or even a deliberate hoax. No, I think it's telling us it's a substitution.
Yes.
Right. Hoax theory. Some could argue, expert argue, the C13 was never meant to be solvable and simply was designed to frustrate and mock the public and law enforcement. It's not a hoax because we solved it. To this day, the Z13 cipher remains one of Zodiac's most mysterious puzzles. Its brevity and lack of clear patterns have made it nearly impossible to verify any proposed solutions. The Z13 continues to tantalize cryptographers and true crime enthusiasts and Zodiac researchers alike. The cipher's true intent, whether it's genuine a clue or just another red herring, remains a key mystery in the Zodiac case. Well, very, very interesting. And we're going to get into it in a second on how we start decoding this particular cipher. So let's real quick talk about the psychological makeup of the Zodiac. Because it's really important to understand that once we have the solution, to see how it all transpires and transposes into this person. So, psychological profiler, Zodiac Killer, has been a subject of extensive analysis by criminal profilers, psychologists, and law enforcement experts. While the Zodiac's identity remains unknown, his actions, letters, and behavior provide significant clues with potential personality and psychological makeup. Here's a summary of the key traits and theories. Narcissistic personality. The Zodiac Killer displayed an overwhelming need for attention and recognition. The desire for fame, because he repeatedly contacted the media and demanded his letters and ciphers be published, indicating a need for validation and public acknowledgement. Taunting tone. His letters often mocked law enforcement and victims, showcasing a sense of superiority.
Right.
Sadistic tendencies. The over-enjoyment of power over others. The Zodiac referred to his victims as slaves, implied he took pleasure in their fear and suffering. Thrill from killing. His letters, including the famous line, "I like killing people because it is so much fun," suggests he derived pleasure from murder.
Yes.
Highly intelligent but emotionally disturbed. Cryptographic skills. The creation of complex ciphers and codes indicates he was intelligent and possibly well-educated.
Yes.
Attention to detail. His ability to avoid capture suggests meticulous planning and careful execution of his crimes. Emotional detachment. The lack of empathy for his victims and the dehumanizing way he referred to them suggests deep emotional disturbance. The need for control. Manipulation. The Zodiac controlled the narrative by sending letters, setting deadlines, and issuing threats to the media and police. Crime scene behavior. His ability to choose locations and times for his crimes without being caught reflects a need to dominate the environment. Possible inferiority complex. Despite his outward arrogance, some experts believe the Zodiac may have felt inadequate in other areas of life. Compensating through violence, his murders and subsequent taunting letters may have been an attempt to assert control and gain a sense of power. Social isolation. Loner tendencies. The Zodiac's ability to remain identified despite intense public scrutiny suggests he operated alone and he may have been socially isolated. Disconnection from society. His writings and actions suggest a deep resentment towards societal norms and authority. Potential psychopathy. Antisocial personality disorder. Zodiac exhibited many traits of psychopathy, including lack of empathy, impulsivity, manipulative behavior, and lack of remorse.
Absolutely.
Possible paranoia or delusions. His references to slaves in paradise and a belief in an afterlife suggest potential delusional thinking or a distorted belief system. Other profilers' insights. Age, likely between 25 to 35 during the murders. Could have a military or technical background given his familiarity with codes, weapons, and tactical planning. Personality, a mix of arrogance, sadism, and insecurity with a deep need to outsmart others and dominate through fear. In conclusion, the Zodiac Killer's profile reflects a deeply disturbed individual with a complex mix of intelligence, narcissism, sadism, and social alienation. His ability to manipulate the media, police, and public while remaining elusive speaks to his cunning and meticulous nature. Though his motivations remain shrouded in mystery. So, that's a psychological profile we have here.
Yeah, absolutely. The guy was brilliant. Okay, he had some smarts, and he had an extensive background in cryptography. Now that doesn't mean he was professional military or anything. That would lead you to believe that he would have probably gotten a background in cryptography if it had been in the military.
Right.
But this could have just been a personal interest of his because it intrigued his mind the way that ciphers and codes work.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating.
And he certainly built a character of himself.
Yeah.
So the solution. So here it is, folks. I decided one day to use one of my AI models. And again, this is totally unbiased. I didn't even mention the Zodiac killing in this particular chat. And what I have is screenshot some of the chat here. And this cipher contains a name. Can you solve this for me or give possible solutions? And then it says, certainly, let's analyze the cipher and try to decipher the name within it. Now, remember the plus sign, and they said it was a substitution cipher earlier. What does that say right there? It appears to be a substitution cipher where each symbol represents a letter. Right? There are repeated symbols and numbers which will help in identifying patterns. So it starts to analyze that, but it asked me, really, we would need to try different keyword possibilities to see if any coherent words or a name.
Yeah.
To proceed further and potentially crack this cipher, the following could be helpful. More context and the information about the origin and purpose of the cipher could provide clues, which I did not provide. Longer sample. If there's longer samples, and that's what I chose to use, rather than biasing the model with saying this is a Zodiac cipher.
Right.
I put into it, okay, we're going to provide the next cipher. So what I put in is, and I'm not sure if that was which cipher I put in first. And apparently this is I think this is the 408 cipher. Yes, this is the 408 cipher. This is the cipher that was first deciphered back in 1969. And I put in the translation of that cipher. So
that builds
again,
a model for AI to work on.
Right. There doesn't seem to be any complex keywording or shifting mechanism involved. Some of the simple, which indicates to me this is kind of an amateur. A little bit when it comes to this. Maybe good at it, maybe up more than most, but another way it could be. So the symbols might represent punctuation spaces, marks, or spaces. Applying these insights to the first cipher, it starts to come up with a few names. The first one being Adam, the second one being Adnan, and other variations. Depending on potential symbol variations or presence of punctuation within the cipher, the other less common names might be possible. Right? If you have any additional context, or clues about the name or cipher's origin, please share them. If you can provide more of a sample, that will significantly improve to reveal the correct name.
So this time you were teaching AI.
Right. Correct. So at this time, I added the Z340 cipher, which was solved in 2020. Right. That's the one that begins with, I hope you're having lots of fun and trying to catch me. Yes. Right? And we added that one. And so we threw that one into AI. And what did it come up with? It confirmed simple substitution. It talks about potential for symbol variation, punctuation, and spaces. They do represent punctuation mark like periods, commas, and spaces. Considering these observations, let's revisit the first cipher and attempt a more accurate description. So we have the original cipher there, and then potential solution, and it only comes up with one. The word Alan. It comes up with Alan in the first one and Al-An in the second one. And then due to the potential symbol variation present, there's a slight chance of other less common names. However, these are less probable given the limited number. So there we have it. We have the name Alan, A-L-A-N. Now, what's the issue here? That the main suspect in the Zodiac killing was named Arthur Lee Allen, but his last name was spelled L-L-E-N.
Right.
Now you understand why that substitution symbol became important. Right. Why the taunting is the same. He is giving his last name as a first name, L-A-L-A-N.
Right.
Right? And this is totally unbiased. I just put the ciphers in. There you go. And it came up with A-L-A-N.
Right. He said it was his name. He didn't say it was his name spelled correctly.
Correct. Right. And that would even lead, well, the guy's first name is Allen, but he was actually giving his last name.
Right.
Now, there's a lot of more important things going on here as well. And I'm going to make this point more than once tonight. This cipher came out in 1970. Yes, 1970. The Z13 came out on April 20th, 1970. Right? Right? So, when was Arthur Lee Allen first acknowledged as a suspect in the Zodiac killing? Not until 1971.
Right.
Not until a year later.
Yeah.
So the name Allen wasn't even on the market at that time. They had no suspects at that time.
Right.
They had one suspect because he looked... I'm sorry, wrong case. I'm thinking of the Green River Killer. So Arthur Lee Allen was really the first suspect they ever went public with. And is considered the prime suspect.
Yeah. With good reason.
And there's lots of good reasons. Besides being, age 35, which fits within the profile, 6'2", 250 pounds, which they said, especially in the Lake Berryessa, where the gentleman survived, that described a big, a rather large man.
Right.
So let's talk about Arthur Lee Allen real quick. Arthur Lee Allen was publicly named a suspect in Zodiac killings in 1971, a year after the Z13 cipher. The Vallejo Police Department began investigating him after a friend by the name of Don Chaney reported Allen's suspicious behavior and statements, and Allen's connections to the cases included the following. Allen allegedly told his friend Don Chaney about his fantasies of killing people and leaving ciphers for authorities. Possession of a Zodiac watch. Allen owned a Zodiac brand watch featuring the same cross-circle logo the killer used in his letters.
Right.
Proximity to the crime. Allen lived near many of the Zodiac's crime scenes and had no solid alibis for several of the attacks. Possible revelation of Allen's name. Although Allen was investigated in 1971, his name became widely known only after Robert Graysmith's 1986 book, Zodiac, which delved into the case and heavily implied Allen was the prime suspect. This led to the increased public and media interest in him as potential Zodiac killer. Despite the circumstantial evidence of Allen, no definitive proof linked him to the Zodiac crimes, and DNA testing later failed to match him to the evidence collected from the Zodiac letters. Allen died in 1992, and his involvement remains unconfirmed. And one would think, of course, you're going to have lots of different DNA on a U.S. postal envelope.
Right.
It's going to get handed from mail carrier to processor to, postal worker. So, obviously, and if he put it in the mailbox or in the mail slot with a glove, right? So the lack of evidence there is not evidence that he was not the killer.
It's just the evidence that he's smart enough not to leave his DNA where it could be found.
Right. Allen allegedly told his friend Don Chaney about his plans to kill people, taunt the police with letters, and called himself Zodiac years before the Zodiac murder began.
Boy, that's pretty
right. Yeah. Fascination with violent themes. He often talked about killing and had the interest in the novel The Most Dangerous Game, which the Zodiac referenced in his letters. This story involves hunting humans for sport, mirroring Zodiac's stated motives.
Right. Yeah.
So definitely very, very interesting. Possession of key items. Of course, the Zodiac watch. And police found typewriters and other items in his possession that were potentially consistent with materials linked to the Zodiac letters, though never definitively matched.
Right. Well, he very well could have had a different typewriter. I mean, you know.
Allen lived in Vallejo, California, near Mena. Okay, we said that.
Right.
He was reported to be near Lake Berryessa at the time of the September 27, 1969 attack on Brian Hartwell and Cecilia Shepard. Prior criminal record. Yes, he does have. In 1974, Allen was convicted of a child crime. Right. And again, we're kind of skipping around this. This is
because this is YouTube, we're not going to say the crime, but it was a crime against children.
That is correct. And the other thing is while he was in prison for this, the Zodiac letter stopped.
Well, imagine that.
Right. And when you're an investigator, a coincidence, all these coincidences, I mean, one coincidence is one thing, but there is no coincidence, right? Not in the world of investigation. And these are way too many coincidences.
Right. You've got a bushel basket full of coincidences here.
Right.
That's
Allen was known to have an interest in cryptography and codes, although no direct link to the Zodiac ciphers was established. Footprint match. Allen's shoe size 10.5 match prints found at the Lake Berryessa crime scene. So his foot was the same size as the footprints found at Lake Berryessa.
Right.
Similar appearance. Some descriptions of the Zodiac matched Allen's physical appearance, including his large frame and glasses. Even though there are some sources that say that he did not wear glasses. Even if he didn't, he could put on a fake pair of glasses, alter his appearance, always altering the appearance.
Yeah. The guy's smart enough to figure out his own cipher and his own codes. You think he's probably smart enough to put on a fake mustache or glasses. Right.
So here are the challenges to Allen's guilt, and there was only 3 of them. There was no DNA match. The DNA from Zodiac letters did not match Allen's. Of course not. They're handled for the post office, handled by mail handlers, person handling it, going to the mailroom at the different locations. Of course there wouldn't be any, especially if he's using gloves, right? I'm sure he was pretty smart. If he didn't leave any scene evidence on the scene of the crime, I'm pretty sure that when he mailed the letter, he was pretty damn careful about it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Handwriting mismatch. Now, this is kind of a conundrum. Allen's handwriting did not match Zodiac's, although he was ambidextrous. Leaving some room for debate.
Sure.
Right, and that would make sense.
Absolutely.
I would use the opposite of my hand to write letters rather than my dominant hand. Yeah. Everybody thinks he's right-handed, and he can actually write left-handed. Okay. Right. And vice versa. Lack of direct evidence, and that's true too. Despite the extensive searches of Allen's home, no conclusive evidence, weapons, ciphers, or trophies were ever found. Again, one would expect somebody that is that smart not to keep evidence around himself.
Exactly.
Right. So let's pile back here. So, is it possible, though speculative, the Zodiac Killer could have deliberately misspelled Allen as Allen in his communications? Well, the Zodiac Killer was known for taunting law enforcement and the media with cryptic message puzzles and deliberate errors, which may have used to mislead or confuse investigators. Here's why it could be seen as intentional. It's a pattern of deliberate errors. The Zodiac often made intentional mistakes in his letters, ciphers, and other messages. For example, he made inconsistent use of punctuation and unusual grammar, which some investigators view as deliberate. It's possible that misspelling a name could be another attempt to misdirect investigators or throw off those trying to link letters to specific suspects. The Zodiac's tendency to confuse. The Zodiac was known for his love of games and puzzles, and deliberately misspelling something as significant as a suspect's name could have been another way for him to challenge or frustrate investigators. The use of Alan instead of Alan could be a way of a subtle reference someone without making it obvious, particularly if the name was connected to the suspect. All right. Psychological manipulation. By altering the name slightly, the Zodiac could have been trying to throw off investigators who might have been looking for clear clues. A misspelling could lead the police or the public to doubt whether the reference was intentional, causing further confusion.
Yes.
In conclusion, while there's no definitive evidence that the Zodiac Killer misspelled Alan as Alan or on purpose, it's consistent with his behavior to play games with language and confuse or mislead investigators. Given his cryptic and often taunting nature, it's entirely possible he did this to further complicate the investigation and keep his true identity concealed, and yet truthful to what he said it was.
Yes.
So,
it was his name. It
Right.
just wasn't spelled correctly.
and again, I just
spelled as he spelled his last name.
Right. So that is my evidence for this. And we're going to do a short show tonight. I know Chris isn't feeling on his game tonight, so we're going to get off here in a few minutes. We're going to get off here in a little less than, we're going to get off at 10 o'clock tonight. So,
But with the kind of mind this guy had,
right.
And while you were inputting the previous ciphers and their solutions into AI, you were teaching AI how to read this cipher.
Correct. First, I asked a straight shot. Can you
Yes.
give me an answer? Well, I can't. I need more information.
Right.
Gave it a little bit of information. Well, I got a few names, but we can narrow it down if you give me another one. And then I gave it another one.
Right.
And then 1 and 2 was Alan or Alan.
Yes. What it was doing, it was learning the types of cipher he used and how he used those. Now that's amazing, and AI has become a great tool for investigation. But it was funny to me that the more you input, the more it could narrow it down. Until finally you had ALAN,
and that was a process that was used unbiasedly. I never knew what the name was gonna. Like I said, okay, Adam. Adnan. I wasn't even thinking of Alan. Right. And then it came out and I got Alan. Oh my God. It was kind of like that reaction.
Right.
It named Alan and wait a minute. Wait. And I'm thinking, this guy is a very twisty guy. He likes twisting words. He likes twisting meanings. I go, I wonder if he gave the first name variant of his last name, right, to confuse people. And well, I told you the truth. I said it was Alan.
Yes, exactly.
And he wasn't a suspect at that time.
Right.
Remember that. He was not even a suspect. Consider he wasn't publicly made a suspect until 1971.
Right.
Or 1971. So, and I know a lot of people are asking me, like Kaiju asked me, did he study criminology or anything like that? I have no idea. It was not really a study of a lot of the necessarily the suspect, as it was the process of deciphering this thing. Was he a loner? Was he a guy who lived by himself? He was a guy who was not married. He was a guy that was kind of an introvert. He taught in school, so he has some sort of education for a while.
Yeah.
But think about that. He had a crime against the child and he taught in school. So, and then the fact that the letters of the Zodiac drop off just coincidentally during the times Arthur Lee Allen is in prison.
Yeah. Now that's another one of those coincidences that adds up. It's one thing to have one coincidence, but when you have so many that fit together, that's not coincidence.
Finding a trackway goes, was there any indication of Oriental interest? I don't think so. Not so much because of the names being inversed, but just the fact that I'm going to give them a first name for my last name, and I'm going to spell it a little. I'm going to spell it the alternate way,
Right.
which just enough of a twist for the Zodiac Killer to feel. Well, I gave him my name. I didn't say whether it was my first name, last name, middle name. Right. So, and this is totally, done by. Okay. So Mick says, I wouldn't trust IA to solve crimes. AI still gets too many things wrong. In my opinion, it's a result of deliberate programming bias. Again, Mick,
this was non-biased. Right?
This was unbiased. This was simply, if you look at the text leading up to it.
Right.
Did I ever say the Zodiac Killer once? No. The Zodiac killings had nothing to do with the AI programming coming into its decision. It was simple. Can you answer this cipher? Okay, well, here's one. Here's one of the ciphers that same guy put out that was solved. Here's another one, and then it came up with the name ALAN.
Right.
So that and I didn't even think of that name because I knew Alan's name was ALLEN. I didn't even think at that particular point that Zodiac was twisted enough to do a wordplay on the thing, and it did. This is completely unbiased. The formulation for the AI was unbiased because it was never told what it was examining. It was never told in retrospect what this could be. So all those I kept it out of the sphere of the Zodiac.
Right.
It was just, here's a cipher. Here's this one. Here's that one. Solve it. And each time it got consistently better until we got what we got.
Right. Well, by him presenting that third cipher to the police and
again, you're asking AI to write a legal brief based on what? Based on what? Opinion. This is not an opinion. This is a formula to solve a puzzle.
Right. A cipher.
Right. So there's no bias. This is a puzzle. It was presented with a puzzle, and that's the answer it came out with.
Right.
Is it a coincidence? It came up with the same phonetically sounding name as the prime suspect in the Zodiac murder when it didn't know it was solving a Zodiac case? No. Okay. So, Mick, again, let's go right here. It's not using any biases. It's using it based on this. Solving a puzzle.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't know it's examining the Zodiac killing, how in the French farts would it know that it would be talking about this guy? So stop with the AI bias shit. It's not AI biased. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Well, it's not. It was just used to decipher.
Right. It was used to decipher a puzzle, not solve a crime.
Right. Right.
That's what people are misunderstanding. If I gave it the word jumble of the day and it came up with the solution, would you trust it, especially if it was the right one? Well, yeah, you would. I asked it to solve this puzzle and it came up with the name of the prime friggin' suspect, and it didn't even know what it was solving.
But the biggest question to me is I have no doubt that the cipher is solved, and I have no doubt that it's ALAN.
Yep.
And but Zodiac claims that was his name in the cipher.
Right.
And it's Alan. Now, is it spelled the same way exactly? No, it's not. No, it's not. But we're talking about an individual here that is suffering from psychopathy. Absolutely, this guy is psychopathic. Absolutely.
Illusionary superiority.
Yes.
He felt he was smarter than everybody else.
Yes. And I think that's also what led to the creation of the second cipher, because after his first cipher was solved by the math teacher, I think of it, he thought, well, oh my gosh, I'm not as smart as I thought I was, so I'm going to come up with a new one, and they'll never get this one.
Right. Well, and as to bias, that's the reason why I don't ask There's certain ways to ask AI to write things or to solve puzzles. And the writer can interdict their own biases into it. That's why I was very clear in the very beginning. If you look, the cipher contains the name. Can you solve this for me or give me possible blah, blah, blah? You don't see me mention Zodiac or killing or anything in this at all. The Zodiac killing, right? Right?
Well,
and that's the totally right. Now, this is where I start asking it more specific questions about Alan or the Zodiac killing in particular. But during the whole solution process, the Zodiac case, it even asked me, it appears to be it even asks me, at one point, any information about the origin or purpose of this cipher could provide clues. Oh, okay. Sorry about that, Grant. Yeah. So I'm glad you kind of caught up with that, and I'm really glad about that. So if you weren't here in the beginning, we actually solved Cipher 13 using AI, and this is the way it was done. It was used by just treating it like a simple puzzle. Again, we have the 3 ciphers that came in. Those were the ones that had been solved by cryptologists.
yes.
And or a couple of teachers back in 1969 that have been confirmed solved by the FBI.
Right.
And then this was this mystery one, which there is another cipher, Z32, which I did not even bother looking at because this one is really important to us because this one says my name is right. And so we put that information right into that. And it says, well, we really can't kind of figure it out with some kind of key. So we put in the first key, which was 408, which was the first solved cipher.
Yeah.
And it came up with a few names, Adam, Adnan, and other variations. Although it did not list it, depending on. And then it says, if you have any additional context or clues about the potential name or the cipher's origin, again, ignoring that, if you can provide more examples. So I did provide the 340 cipher, which was done again on which was
that was 2020,
solved in 2020.
Right.
And I put that one in, and here, as you can see, here's another cipher that has been decoded as the following, and I put down the language.
Yes.
Thank you, Grant. Yep. And boom, what it did was it came up with the name Alan or Alan. So it refined it to a name, not Adnan, but Alan.
Right.
By clarifying those ciphers a little bit better. So the more information we pumped into it, the more clear it became. In fact, we have a couple on the first one. We have Adam or Adnan. And then on the second one, we only had really one variation, Alan or Alan.
Right.
And it just so happened that Arthur Lee Allen's last name is spelled Allen, which kind of makes sense of what the using psychological manipulation and kind of, his superiority complex he has over everybody else, thinking the cops were stupid.
Right.
And again, this is before Arthur Lee Allen was even questioned about the Zodiac murder. So, and then the next thing you know, the cops show up at his. But had they had that information back then, okay, smarty, you think you're so smart,
right?
We know that cipher meant Allen.
Well, we know that his profile, psychopaths are master manipulators. And this guy, releasing his name in there in the cipher as ALAN,
right?
That's just hilarious to him because he did give him his name.
See, the one thing you can count on AI, as long as you don't bias it. Right. If I had said, well, this is a Zodiac cipher, then it's going to start taking those potentials from the Zodiac, information base. I wanted it to solve it as a puzzle, as a cryptogram itself, not as anything else. And that's what it came up with.
And as you give it more information to work with, like you were teaching it by inputting the
Right.
previous
Right.
ciphers.
I said, all right, can it solve it on its own? No, it can't. Can it solve it with one? Well, we got a few names. Well, let's give it the second one, see if we can't trim that up.
Mhm.
And I thought for sure it was going to come up with either Adam or Adnan, and instead it came up with Alan. And
Right.
the reason why is that second cipher being deciphered, it kind of taught it where it was making mistakes on the first cipher.
Yes. Yes. Well, see, the first cipher that was decoded by the high school teacher way back when, 69 or 70. And okay, I firmly believe that after that cipher had been broken, Zodiac was probably a little upset about that. He wasn't expecting anyone to be as smart as he was.
Right.
And so he came out with this new cipher, which stood the test of time up until 2020, the last of 2020.
Right. Right. The last cipher that was ever identified was the one from 1969.
Yes. Yes. So, he did a good job on his new cipher.
Right. So, yeah, it's just really important not to get those biased type of things. And there's
Right.
certain things that AI is great for: solving puzzles, solving mathematical equations. When you're giving it raw data without context, is
Yeah, if you just typed in to AI, ask the question, "Who was the Zodiac Killer?" It's going to tell you just a bunch of information about.
Right. So Kaiju Ninja asked, "Do these killers want to be found? Does the Zodiac Killer want to be found?" No, I don't think he did, but I think he thought he was smarter than everybody else, that he could give him his name and not be caught. And he was. He did.
Yeah,
he did, because he died in Arthur Lee Allen died in 1992.
Right.
All the Zodiac suspects are dead. Right. All the rest of them are dead as well. So my point being is that he got away with it. He did it. He thought he was smart enough, and
the superiority complex that he had.
Right.
He's smart. He was taunting the police that, hey, I am so smart. I can give you this cipher and it's got my name in it. All you got to do is solve it. But you can't because you're too stupid.
Right. Right. Right.
And he was right up until December 2024.
Remember, the AI model was not used to identify Arthur Lee Allen.
No. Right. Exactly.
The AI model was used to identify what the cryptogram said, and it said it was Allen, ALAN.
Yes.
And it did not know. Again, I can't stress the word Zodiac or any of the references, such as origin. Even though it asked me twice for it, I just gave it another cipher that was deciphered.
Right.
And that's how it came up with the answer.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes, I agree. It's all a game, especially, you have some of those. Now, there are some serial killers like Dahmer and Bundy who did not want to be known. And it wasn't a game to them. It was an impulse. It was an impulse to them.
Yes.
But to certain killers, like the Zodiac and like the LA arsonist back in the 80s, it was a thrill because they started sending letters and look at me, look what I can do, and leaving my signatures in places. And
they needed that recognition, and yet they still didn't want to be caught, but they were so confident, and which
now here's the other interesting thing, but the algorithm that was solved in 2020 was used with the computer algorithm. Right. So yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I read about that too, and like I said, there's certain things that AI can do very well, and there's certain things it can't. Asking it to comment on law without using a specific case is kind of hard. Like, give me a definition of the Fifth Amendment, and it could spell out a number of different things depending on the biases that it was programmed with, number one,
Right.
or the input it had read, number two.
Right.
Right. But when I ask it to solve, can you solve this Rubik's Cube puzzle? There should be no bias about it at all. Okay, this is the solution to that. That's the solution to that. Nothing to do with bias on who was the suspect, who wasn't. It didn't even know it was dealing with the crime. It just acted like it was dealing with a very twisted puzzle.
It's the same as you ask it to solve a math equation for you.
Right.
It's the same difference.
Right.
Once the computer has been taught, or AI has been taught, that 2 + 2 = 4, okay, it's going to know.
Right. So there are certain uses. I agree with Nick and Jay, Carrie as well. Sure. There are certain uses for AI that you're not going to get a straight answer. I've caught it making mistakes too.
Yes.
I have caught it making mistakes as well. And then when I corrected it, it's, oh yeah, that's right, I was incorrect. Thank you for letting me know that. Right? So it fact checked me correcting it and said, "Oop, you're right. I was wrong." So it's not 100% right.
But see, this was not. Yeah, this use of AI was not a use of not a social discussion.
Right.
It wasn't asking about
or even a legal discussion. It was a pure mathematical, cryptogram.
Right.
Or cryptological thing.
That's what, to me, that's the important thing to remember, because we do know AI can be biased, especially on issues of social issues.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be biased, when you ask it to solve a math problem, or in this case, a cryptograph.
Mick, I have not, but that would be really interesting.
Well, there is, there are some more drawbacks about AI. If you ask AI how many R's the word strawberry has, it'll tell you it has 2.
And the funny thing is, Grammarly does make errors as well. Yep. So, but so that is the bomb diggity on that. But anyway, I know Chris isn't feeling well tonight, so I think we're going to get out of here an hour early so Chris can just chill a little bit. So I know Chris didn't want to let me down and not be here tonight.
No, I wanted to be here for this. Yes, this is very important. I think, Steve, you're the first one that has solved this, and I wanted to be a part of it and be on here with you. And just, I am 100% absolutely convinced you have found the right answer. And you've used AI as a tool to achieve that answer. And I think you've done it properly. There's no bias whatsoever.
And that's why I wanted to walk it through the process tonight.
Yeah.
Right? And I was very clear at the onset that we never gave it any frame of reference of where that cipher came from or anything like that.
Right.
And that's why I documented the chat and each step I did. Right. And I did that on a whim. And just not expecting anything, and went, whoa. Keep the name Alan. And that just so happens to be the prime suspect. Although it's spelled differently, but that's par for the course with the Zodiac.
So. Oh, thank you, Jen. But you guys, we appreciate you guys joining us tonight.
Next week, the Platypus Killer.
If it's your first time watching us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button. Helps the algorithm, helps the channel. We appreciate you guys. And podcast listeners, you guys get over to the YouTube channel. Check it out. youtube.com/@squatchdtv. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
And Mick, I appreciate that too. You trust Steve and Chris more than AI. And if I'm telling you to trust this solution, then, well, there you go.
Well, Mick,
I myself walk very carefully, making sure that the whole discussion was not biased by any of the case information.
I know the word strawberry has 3 R's, Mick. Yeah, it doesn't.
All right, folks, we'll be back at you next Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. I know for all those out there tonight, everybody have a great week. We'll catch you all midweek. And we will see you all right here Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Squatch-D TV. And we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming as well. Everybody, have a great night.
We thank you for being here with us on Squatch-D TV. If you haven't taken the time yet, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And oh yes, hit that notification bell too. We don't want you to miss anything. If you really like our content, you should consider becoming a member. And it's really inexpensive and a great way to support not only the show, but honest Bigfoot research. Everyone have a great week. Be safe and God bless. We will see you all here next time on Squatch-D TV. Keep on squatching.